I think at the end of that story, which sums it up, and I think sums it well, the guy says, Britain was undefended because people were watching Wes. The reviewer says, this story is why civilization is worth seeing. We can take it further. Civilization is worth saving because of the service of men like Wes Hall. And we're going to come into that, Wes, now. And actually, in your book, you told Paul you wanted it to be answering the call. You said, I've never done a job application in my life because I've always received the call. Tell us a bit about those calls.
Well, yes, I decided to leave school early at 17 and go to work because I felt that at Commonwealth Grade School, I always got a lot of trouble because one thing I couldn't understand, why on earth at St. Giles and then Commonwealth, I never did any thing about the West Indies at all, no history. No history about the West Indies, anything. Trinidad, Barbados, nothing. Everything was from England. And I was an expert on, Cromwell, Eric de Grade, Bolin, the assassination of, down in Peninsula, the king said, will any one of you go to this terrible place? And things like that. So I wasn't popular. And I left and came to Cable Wireless, a British firm, as you know, and a very good firm. And I thought that I would be there for the next 50 years simply because the money was good. But I love cricket so much that I really wanted to play cricket. And when I was at school, my master, Mr. Gill, I played in the first 2 years when I played first class cricket when I was about 13 against big men in test players. And I got good runs. I got 190 and they ran me out, so the next innings I decided when I get to 95 I hit it out the ground and got caught at 94. So, they said that it was I needed to bat on something else. Everybody did that. So because I couldn't have a certain string in my bow, I didn't get in the first team. And then he came to me and said, Wes, you're making so many runs, I think it's a shame that I'm not playing you, but I'm going to give you this book by Godfrey Evans called Behind the Stumps. You go and next summer, you'll be keeping and batting, opening batting. So that's the first thing. I did not make a noise. I did not say to him, well, I can't run. He told me that I had no balance, so I can't bowl. So I thought, well, I'll never bowl in my life then. And I left Commonwealth as a batsman with who could keep it. So I went to Cable Wireless, and I was going to play for Spartan in first. I mean, I didn't think the master was very pleased with me. So I decided, look, oh no, I'm going back in the intermediate, and I kept wicket. In my second match, the skipper came and said to me, look, Wes, we haven't got the fast bowler, you can't get off the 3 o'clock. So, could you come and bowl a few balls for me? I said, me? I never bowled a ball in my life, not in a game. He said, well, I know, but, there's nobody else here. And I saw you bowling in the nets the other day. I said, yes, if 4 people come to the nets, 2 would have to bowl. So that's how I bowled. I never bowled since then. So he said, well, take the shine off the ball. Very nice man, and I'm a new boy, so I better do it. So I did it, and I got 7 for 25. I never kept it again. I never kicked wicket again, really. So I went on to bowl, and the same day, one of the Wonders players, Wonders, as you know, is a white team, very good cricketers who play to the West Indies. He told me to come down and have let them look at me. I went down. Every time I bowled the ball, it was halfway, the wicket was like that. There in Barbados we do that, having the wicket there and then the run up, especially in small grounds. And every time I bowled the ball, it hit the top of the thing, like zing, like that. I don't know why I was bowling so fast, but I bowled very fast, and they were very impressed. And within 2 weeks, I was playing against Swanton. And, you know, I was so, well, I don't know, I was so scared. And the captain, Bogus Williams, when we were going out, so he said, would you like to bowl at Cowdrey? I said, Cowdrey, as in Collie? He said, yeah. He said, don't you know they play? I said, no, I didn't know that. So the first ball I bowled at Colin Cowdrey, a lovely outswinger, and it swung quite big, took the edge, and he got dropped. And my analysis at the end of that match was, well, they gave me 4 runs, I batted 4 not out, and I bowled 24 overs, none for 98. Now that is what I came to England on. Anybody knowing the things that were sold, you know, you see that Wes Hall came to England with no wickets, not one. And what they didn't know is that we had some games in Trinidad to bring the team, you know, to England. I didn't get any wickets in the first match, but in the second match I got 4 wickets. And while they were picking the team, I got 79 or something like that, and they decided that he looks like he can bat. So when I came to England, I was batting after Ramilin and Valentine. That's an insult. So I know it. So that is exactly what happened at the beginning. And so when I came back, when I left here, they said if I lived to be 100, I wouldn't bowl that. Now, every 2 weeks had a different thing. He said, guys, you don't run. Every time you run properly, you get a wicket, you know. And but you bowled so many bad balls because you're all over the place. So he wanted me to, you know, run often, and I would be okay. I did 10 miles of. I never played any more cricket for a year. What I did, I decided that I would train every day, run 10 miles a day, and I began my rhythm start coming on. So that the next time I played for the West Indies, in the year 2 from the first one here in England, in India, they had picked the team. West Indies had this stupid way of picking teams because they would pick the team 7 months before they're going to the Hills. Anything could happen. Frank Worthing, he said he wouldn't play because he was doing his finals in Manchester University. And in the meantime, Trinidad, Barbados played Jamaica, and Alan Ray, the selector, a West Indian cricket genius in 1950, he taught me a lesson that I would like to bowl at all the selectors before they pick me. So, being a selector, he said nobody had hit my bat so hard since Lee Warren. He insisted that I go in India. They were still not very pleased with it, so they put J.K. Holt and we came in as a replacement for Warren. So, you know, and that is what happened. So I started that way. When I got to India, from the very first, well, because they had 4 different fast bowlers in front of me, I never played at all until the day before the match before the test match. Gilchrist, who is supposed to be a villain and this and all, I thought he was a very good roommate I had. And he said to me, look, you need to bowl around the wicket and I'll come around. First he asked me, who do you think is the fastest bowler, who's the best bowler in the world? I said, you Billy. He said, you college boys are smart. He said, I want you to bowl around the wicket and I'll bowl over. I said, but why is that? You know, Billy almost professed that I didn't go to school, you know, right? So, but I was listening to him. I thought he was pretty bright for me. He said, bowl around the wicket. I said, but why should I do that? He said, bowl around the wicket, and you bowl big out swingers and run them over the other side. I'll bowl the other side and bowl in swingers and run them the other side. I didn't understand that. But I did it, and between he and I, we got 16 wickets in that game, and that pushed me in the test match. And then I played from that test match to 46 consecutive test matches. That's how it happened.
Wes, there's so much in that, those calls that you got from your teacher, from the selectors in very different ways, but also relationships with Gilchrist, with your captains. But one of the most powerful relationships you talk about in your book is your mother. And I'd love to hear about that, because you talk so powerfully about how she's almost helped to form the man that you are.
Yeah. Well, not helped. I think she did. My mom was a great lady. I don't know. She knew that I was walking around the place saying that I would go to come here and I would go there. And she said to me, they don't like it, but keep it. Because she was a very good woman. I went to school to come here, and because my name is Wesley Hall, and you Barbadians will know that one of the best schools, primary schools in Barbados is Wesley Hall. So I said the teacher, but the headmaster said that they're not teachers, they're masters. I said, okay. So he asked, what's your name, and where you went to school? So when it got to me, I said, Wesley Hall. He said, hold on. Did you know what I said? I said, yes. You said that you want me to say my name and then school. He said, go there. I said, Wesley Hall. He said, go to the headmaster. And he thought that I was being, ridiculous, and he didn't think it was my name. He thought I was playing the fool. The headmaster was an Englishman called Major Newton, and if you go into his office with a complaint from a school teacher, well, you get him beat. He didn't even ask me what I did. What are you doing here? That is it. What are you doing here? I said, the teacher sent me, sir. And he said, bend over, 6 lashes and my stuff. The others in the school didn't like that. So I became like a little hero. So at lunchtime, you go down the corridors. But I didn't know that you had to go on the first one, no sign. And as prefect, I'm only 11, and the prefect, who was about 15, 16, he get off the corridor. And I said, okay, I'm getting off it. I can't jump off it. I'm just walking off it. And he looked at my head. In those days, your mothers, those from Barbados, your mother, that haircut that your mother gave you for the first day at school, you'll never do it again. All of it. And he knew that I was a new boy. But no, he didn't know I was a new boy because I was big, pretty big boy for 15. And he saw that, he said, well, this must be a new boy. And he just, bam, slapped me on my head. I fell, not that he got that force, but it was sudden. I didn't think my mother sent me there if anybody beat me. My headmaster, yeah, take him, but, schoolboy, no. And I fell right down, and I decided I leave the school. Bam, one cuff, and I hit him back. The note then said for me, he said, a private does not hit a sergeant. A sergeant does not hit he is a major. He will not hit a major. And a major does not hit a brigadier. And 6 more lashes. So when I went to school, I'm the only man in the world who got beaten twice the first day of school. So I became very famous at all. Not for that good thing, but for that. So my mom, I said I wasn't going back there as much as I loved it. She said, listen, he said, no, I'll go to school tomorrow, but be better, Wes. Be better, not bitter. Bitterness is a wasted emotion. And that went with me for my life. My mom was so good. She went to the headmaster, he apologized for beating me. And he said, it will never happen again. And the headmaster, I think he had 3 or 4 times that I should have been beaten. But he said, oh no, Wes is okay, man, let's go. So that's what happened. That's what my mom, when I went to England and came back, very upset, she said, look, what Everton said to do, if you have to run 10 miles a day, you run 10 miles a day. Nobody can make you in fear. without your permission. My mother said that. You have to give people that permission to make you feel inferior. So I did that. I went and trained for a year, and as I said, by the time I got to India, I was ready for it. My mom was a fantastic caller there. She knows it very well. And my mom was bright. She read everything. All my school books that I didn't read, she would read all of them. And she was a very thrifty lady, and she turned out to be a very good. She was, for those who know St. Lawrence, she had the biggest shop in St. Lawrence, and that's where I live. I want to say that I must tell you that I'm from the proletariat. I'm one of those Barbadians, as you know, in a shadow house, no electricity, the toilet out in the yard, and that sort of thing. And I knew all my life that, I wanted to make sure not only goodness for me, but everybody I met. And when I went into politics, that was something that I would do. The best thing to do is to live in the constituency, be there with the people, know what they want to do, and get it. If you do that, I think you got a good chance. But all of that, my mother taught me.
That is really powerful. And I think that saying, be better, not bitter, that your mom said is so powerful. You also talked there actually about Commonwealth. And if you think about Commonwealth, Commonwealth is the school of Wes Hall, of Rihanna, of Barbadian prime ministers, named after an English slave owning Viscount. Couldn't make it up. But yet, I remember even in the book, there's that 1966 tour, you talk about the number of Congomerians on that tour, and you meeting Major New there. Tell us a bit about your relationship with Commonwealth and the friendships and what have you.
Commonwealth was a great thing. It was a great school, actually. And, people felt that the cricketers were, all favorites and not the bright boys. But the truth is that all of those cricketers, not one of them fell short. They're all doctors, lawyers, everyone, not one. And I think in a school, you have good cricketers. And by the way, Commonwealth had at least 8 cricketers that I felt they were playing in-test cricket. Many people like Lashley, you have Lashley, the boy Francis Scott, all those fellows would have played before me, and they were my age. And we had a very, very, very good side. But I think that at Commonwealth, we had some very brilliant scholars, and teachers more or less, like to see in the classroom the bright boys doing well. And we were not allowed to play football, hockey, or anything, play cricket throughout the year. And I think we did so well at school in that I think they did not really see that these boys had a lot of talent, but they just loved cricket, you know what I mean? So I think that going to Commonwealth was a lovely thing. They used to call me Bar Jesus at Commonwealth, for instance. Why? Because we had, the Acts of the Apostle. I'm sure our priest here would know that. And in the Acts of the Apostles, we did that from first form to the 5th form. And, as if that they didn't have an Old Testament. So what happened, they called me by Jesus because we have 3 context questions on the Acts of the Apostles. About Jesus was a man called Elymas. He had a lot of following because he did, funny things. I suppose he was born Muslim or anything like that. So I got all 3 right, and nobody else, not even the bright boys, they said something else. But it was Elymas, the sorcerer. And they said, well, you must be Bar Jesus, he said. So when I got to 5th form, I called all of them and I said, look, You call me Bar Jesus, but we're all going into the form now. We really need to work very hard. I just want to tell you all that you were doing me a great favor for the last 4 years. You say, how? I said, well, Bar means the son of. You know what Jesus said? The Bar Junior? Right. So they were calling me. I said, you guys are now calling me the son of Jesus. So are you going to stay with that? So, oh no. I said, good. So they called me Blues after my father. So that's what happened. And, you know, we had a good time there. But I think that it was because they had some very, very good players. I was not a superstar under construction at all. They were.
That is amazing. The community, the relationships, the excellence alongside all of that. One of the most significant conglomerations, and you talk a lot about, was Frank Worrell. So Frank Worrell, and you talk so much about him and reflect in your story. I'd love to hear what Sir Frank Worrell means to you and maybe to so many others.
Yeah. Well, the three W's really, they all meant a lot to us, but Sir Frank was so different. He was a great man, but he was one of the captains that did not particularly want to have 6 days of the match talking about it. He would rather, for the 6 months in Australia, that great tour you talk about, he only had 3 meetings. But his door was always open. It didn't matter what it was, honestly. It didn't matter what the problem was. You could go to the captain and know that it would stay there. And that is unfair. He wanted to make sure that the West Indian cricketers should go back and get a job. At that time, nobody got a job coming back. So what's the point of going there? I mean, you know, from 1960 to 1962, from 1960 to 1970, I wasn't living in the West Indies at all. Of course, you know, you were here playing in England in the leagues, Accrington. I wouldn't want to move from Accrington and Great Shell. But Frank came to me and he picked me out and said, look, I want to take some of you guys through a journey. So he said to me, I'm going to take Gary Sobers, the greatest player ever. So Gary, Rohan, Kanai, and you, they've asked me for 3 people. They've asked him, and he took these 3. We went to Australia in 60, 61, and I broke every record in prison. And when I was bragging to Sir Gary that I had done that, he said, well, you know, I've only made 500 runs and got, I only made 500 runs and got 50 wickets. That was a double thing. So he did the best in those places too. But Sir Frank, after 2 years, he then said, I don't want you to do that. I need now to get you into the West Indies and let the West Indies know that we are sending back fellows who are capable of doing that, you know. So I went to Jamaica for 2 years, coaching, because that was my first, my third journey, you know. And I went into the estates and I coached there for 2 years. And then after, he came back to me and said, you're going back to Australia? I put out a thing and they want you to come. I said, I'm not going back to Australia because the cricket there is harder. My 76 wickets in 14 match in Queensland was harder than the test match. The test matches are hard, very hard. He said, I don't want you to go back there. I want you to go and captain this club and look at the policy. Their policy is the greatest in the world. You need to go there, you're captain, so you understand what is happening, and then, you know, get back to me in 2 years with it. I have you booked to go to Trinidad, they want you to come. So with that, I went to Australia, did everything he said, came back, got the job to Australia, in Trinidad, and Trinidad was funny. Trinidad was a thing in cricket. They had this north and south. Well, the west was Carney Forest, and the east seemed to be nothing in cricket-wise. So when I went there, I decided, no, we have to start playing all over. And so I went there for 4 years, and we then decided to look at youth cricket. Every one of you who know Barbados very well, and the West Indies, will know that up to that time there was no organized youth cricket. And if you don't have organized youth cricket, you're in bad shape. So I went there, started the Wes Hall League, and after 2, 3, 4 years, it was a big thing. And we then had never played any cricket against ourselves in the West Indies. So we got Trinidad to come to, Barbados to come to Trinidad. Barbados went to Jamaica, and then they had this qualification thing to come to England in 1970. Now we came here to 1970, and historically, you would know that in 1970, when we first came to England, we played about every game we played in 1950, we got beaten 2-1. Yeah, we were overrun. But I managed the team in 1960 to England. I had to be on the 19. We played 19 games, and we won 17, and the two got washed out. So that was a reversal. But it was historical because it's the first time the West Indies had ever sent a youth team to anywhere. So going to Trinidad by Sir Frank Ward and doing those three, that thing. The other thing that happened when I was there, the two things happened to me, and I know it's long, so I bring it very short. The cricket was okay. Beautiful. Everybody loved that. They're on the way. And the next thing that happened is a priest, a Catholic priest, came to me and said, you know, Wes, those people in Laventille love you. I said, Laventille? Laventille? Boy, I've been going there for nothing. He said, well, don't worry about that. They love you. And I'm going in there, and we are going to change Laventille. And I said, well, that's another, and one of the things, I said, well, I'll come with you. And I went with him, and it's called Servon. What I'd like you to do, I don't want to go through all of it, because it's a long thing, but I had 6 months to go, and I dedicated that 6 months to Laventille. And it's serve all, service volunteered for all. Please go and look at when you go home, and you see exactly. We took a whole community that the only thing that was good in it were the people, but we knew that the people were wonderful people, very talented, but they didn't know. And what happened is that what do you call it? Steel band? Over there is my sponsors. that people let me. The Desperados. That's right. The Desperados steel band is the best in the world, but they seem to be known for anything else, unless violence and things like that. And we went in there. We were going up the hill because it's in a hill, and he said to me, "Go to front line." I said, "You're joking. You're the one that is wearing the cross in your lapel." And he said, "No, they love you, you go." I went up, and I just said to them, "Gentlemen, I know that people have come up this hill many times, over 30 years, but they always had a camera. They always was, taking pictures of you, how good they were. We come with our hearts. We come to help you. And, if you allow us, you'll see what will happen." And then Father Panton came up and he said, "What would you like us to do?" He said, "You like a football?" He said, "Well, we pay for half, and you will play the other half when we come up tomorrow." The fellow said, "I have no money." He said, "But you're smoking a cigarette and you're drinking a beer, so we'll see." As we went up the hill and came down, a gentleman came up to us and said, "Listen, I'm very impressed with you men. You see that house over there?" I said, "Big house." He said, "Well, that will be your office from tomorrow." That's where we started. The only thing I want to tell you about that we did a lot of fundraising, going from gap to gap, getting the fellows to make beautiful hats out of the coconut leaf and things like that. And the biggest one was the poor man's dinner. What we did, we would have a poor man's dinner at the Hilton Hotel, and all you got was a bowl of soup and, a piece of bread to eat it with. And that was our greatest. The greatest brains in Trinidad came with us. The people from the university, the intelligentsia, they came on us. And today, Philip Cherbourg is easily the best social upbringing for people in the Caribbean. I was very good at that. The other thing with Trinidad, I'm only a cricketer, but I came to play cricket one day, and when I got back at 9 o'clock at night, because I was in the country, and it was only 10 minutes from Betty's Village, so you could understand. I came back, I got home at 9 o'clock. Lights on my house, or lights on the car again. I thought my wife and two children were killed or something. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, you arrive home and the lights all over the place, and then you can be the Prime Minister want you. I said, well, no, I want you to. He said, no, she wants you. I said, tell him I will come tomorrow. She said, no, I will come now. So he said, yes, you will tell your wife that you will be back, and you'll be back. So he did not go there. When he got there, the Prime Minister was there, and he said to me, well, I call you because there are two very, people who were very, very strong in their feelings to the Prime Ministers. And they said that Gary Sobers had gone overseas and he has spoken to a leader that they did not appreciate it, and he must apologize. And he asked me what type of fellow this I told him, great man, there's no way he would do anything to hurt destiny. He said, well, if you had to say something about this, to get it going, what would you do? I said, well, sir, I don't know, but I would say, had I known, or had I was aware of West Indian, the feelings of West Indian people on these issues, I would not have even gone. He said, boy, that's good. He said, okay, I tell you what, tomorrow, here's your passport. You go to Barbados, see Gary, all the people, and head prime ministers, the West Indies Cricket Board, Gary, and come back to me straight here. I went there, spoke to Gary, he was on the golf course, then went to all the prime ministers, everybody came back. Then got to Gary at 5 o'clock, caught the 7 o'clock plane, and the Prime Minister was there waiting for me. Incidentally, first time I met the man, but a very powerful man, though. Yes. And when I got back, he said, sit down, Wes, have a drink. And then he says, I said, I didn't know what was happening. He said, well, I spoke to Manley, the Prime Minister, and Mr. Barr, he talked to the Ghanaian, the Guyanese. And he said, I said, what is the thing? He said, well, you've done a very great job, and I just want you to know that what you have actually said, you do it. First of all, Sobers did not have to apologize. He just said that if the people he knew, our people were like that, I thought if they had that feeling, he would fight. So what I'm saying is, I'm going as a cricketer, and the next thing I'm a diplomat, you call that? So that's sort of thing.
It is so true. And Wes, that last bit actually has captured so much of your life for all of us, diplomat, politician, civil, minister of God, and this means just such a wonderful interview. And what we would now want to do is maybe even hear you answering some other questions from me. So maybe Marlon, just to really take over now, Wes, but if we could just give Wes a round of applause for just such a captivating.
Thank you so much for the wonderful beginning. Now we're going to have a very quick 5-minute break and then we will resume with Q&A. So during that break we will release this microphone from the stand. It will be roaming amongst the audience. So if you have a question that you would like to ask Sir Wes, we'd ask you to keep it concise and then we will hand the floor over. So 5-minute break and then we will restart with your audience Q&A. And thank you so much, Alan, for your wonderful questions.
Yeah.